You've been watching this series. You've been taking notes. And you have questions. Today, I'm answering the ones I hear the most. 8 episodes in, and if there's one thing I know for certain, nonprofit leaders all over this country are wrestling with the same questions.
Oh, good. So it's not just me.
I hear them in discovery calls. I hear them in strategy sessions. I hear them from executive directors who've been running organizations for decades and still feel like they're not supposed to ask. So today, I'm bringing them into the open. Yep, we're going there. No filters, no sugarcoating, just real life answers to the questions that are keeping you up at night.
I was up all night thinking about it.
All night?
Because if you're asking these questions privately, I promise you, you're not alone. And more importantly, you deserve a straight answer. Welcome back to From Purpose to Profits, Q&A. Well, hey there. I'm Kimberly Ferguson, CEO and founder of The Emerald Edge. This is a series for nonprofit leaders who are done choosing between mission and financial stability and ready to build the organizations that are strong enough to do both.
Both.
Today is our Q&A episode. I'm tackling the most common questions I hear from nonprofit leaders. I'm going to answer them the way I would answer them with my own clients, directly, honestly, and without the nonprofit guilt trip. Let's get into it.
Let's get this party started!
So first, if we end our year with a surplus, won't our donors think we don't need their money? This is a very common fear, and it's rooted in a fundamental misunderstanding of what donors actually want. Major donors, foundations, and grant makers are not looking for organizations that are barely surviving. They're looking for organizations that are worth investing in. And nothing signals investment worthiness like financial health.
What investors? Where do we find investors?
When you end the year with a surplus, you don't hide it. You celebrate it. You tell your donors, because of your support, we built a 3-month operating reserve this year. That means when disaster strikes, we respond immediately instead of launching an emergency fundraising campaign.
Well, I hope the investors like it.
That is not a reason to give less. They know you're taking steps to ensure the longevity of your organization, and that is something worth investing in.
I like the sound of that.
My board thinks any profit means we're overcharging our clients. How do I change that conversation? Well, you change it with data. Not emotion, not passion, data. Show them the solvency ratio. Show them what happens to organizations that operate at zero margin. We covered exactly that in episode 4. Show them that the most respected nonprofits in the country, Mayo Clinic, Cleveland Clinic, Feeding America, all operate with deliberate surpluses.
We can't live without that.
And then reframe it. You're not overcharging your clients. You're building the financial foundation that ensures you can keep serving your clients for the next 20 years. And like I've been saying all along, there will always be room for sponsored program seats for those who simply cannot afford what you offer.
Let me help you, help me, help you, help me, help.
Profit isn't greed. It's the assurance that you can continue your mission for years to come.
That makes a lot of sense.
I feel guilty paying myself when our nonprofit is struggling financially. Is that normal? Completely normal. And also completely counterproductive. Here's the question I want you to sit with. Is your nonprofit struggling financially because you aren't charging your clients enough? Because you've absorbed the financial pressure of the organization into your own compensation instead of fixing the underlying problem? Because martyrdom, as we talked about in episode 3, is not a business model. When you burn out, your mission doesn't find a new champion automatically. It just stops. So you can pay yourself fairly and you can fix the financial model. These two things work together to create a better business organization overall.
Well, when you put it that way.
How do I calculate true program costs when my overhead changes every year? Well, the trick is that you recalculate it every year. That's the honest answer. Just like for-profit businesses, an annual reevaluation is a foregone conclusion. Costs rise, wages increase, nothing stays the same year over year, even if it's just for inflation.
I'll run the numbers again.
So your true program cost is not a set it and forget it number either. It's a living calculation that needs to be reviewed annually or anytime there's a significant change in your overhead structure. The formula stays the same though. Direct program costs plus allocated indirect costs divided by the number of participants. The inputs change as your organization grows. Build it into your annual budget process, and it will become like second nature.
It's like riding a bike.
What's the minimum operating reserve a nonprofit our size should have before we feel safe? I'd say 3 months. That's your absolute floor. 3 months of unrestricted operating expenses sitting in reserve means that if every funding source suddenly disappeared tomorrow, every grant, every donor, every contract, you have 90 days to respond strategically instead of having to respond reactively. 6 months is where you can start to feel really genuinely stable. And if you're heavily dependent on government funding, given everything we saw happen in 2025 or 2002 or 1980 or even 1969, I'd push you toward the higher end of that range without hesitation. Build 3 months first, then 6 months, and just go 1 month at a time.
It's like my mama always said, better safe than sorry.
Our board is resistant to every financial change I propose. How do I get them on board? Well, first, understand why they're resistant. Most nonprofit boards were built with a scarcity mindset. They were trained to view financial health as a threat to mission integrity. It's not stubbornness, but rather conditioning. So you don't fight it, you reframe it.
Aaron, perceptions can be changed.
Stop using the word profit or even the traditional surplus. Start using words like mission protection or financial resilience or long-term sustainability. Show them the data. Show them the organizations that closed, not because their mission failed, but because their finances did. And if your board still won't engage with the financial health of the organization after you've presented the data clearly and consistently, well, that is a governance problem. And that is a conversation for another episode, so stay tuned.
And the good news is there's always a solution.
How do we know if our executive director is financially qualified to run our organization? Well, the truth is, and I say this with complete respect to every executive director watching this, but executive directors are hired to lead the mission, to build relationships, to cast vision, to inspire teams and communities. They're not hired to be your chief financial strategist of the organization. And frankly, they shouldn't be. That's a completely different skill set and job position. But we do need to find a way to close the gap and ensure that we have someone in a financial leadership position.
It's time we leave it to the professionals.
But what if we can't afford a full-time CFO? What do we do in the meantime? Well, you don't need a full-time CFO. What you need is the right financial leadership at the right level for your organization's size and stage. And that is exactly what the holistic CFO model is designed for. Not a bookkeeper who records what happens, not a traditional accountant who files your 990, though we can do those things too, but a strategic financial partner who looks at your entire organization, your numbers, your systems, your hiring, your operations, your donor strategy, and they help you make decisions that protect and grow your mission.
Really?
Yep.
Do I need to do that?
You don't need someone in the building full time to get that level of support. You need the right partner at the table. You can catch episode 7 for the full financial leadership gap conversation.
Have you seen it?
We're already in the red. Is it too late for the Rise Reset to work for us? Well, I don't think it's ever too late. And I have the receipts. There's a nonprofit I told you about in episode 7 and 8. It was a rehab and recovery organization. And they were over $300,000 in the red when we started working with them for 13 years.
Did I hear you right?
And in less than 6 months, they were able to be over $300,000 in the black. The Rise Reset works precisely because it doesn't start with the most complicated problem. It starts with review, facing your numbers honestly and completely. And from that foundation, everything else becomes possible. So if you're in the red now, start with the R today, and then stay tuned for an even faster option if things are in dire straits. But you can catch the Rise Reset episode above.
I gotta do some research here.
We just lost our biggest grant. What do we do now? First of all, take a breath. And then remember this. Your only job in a crisis is to land the plane. In flight training, when an emergency hits, the pilot doesn't panic. They don't abandon the controls. They focus on the one objective: land the plane safely. Controlled, deliberate, one step at a time. And this is exactly what you do when you lose a major grant. So L, we want to limit non-essential spending immediately. Before you do anything at all, stop the bleeding.
That right now!
A is audit every revenue source that you have left. What do you actually have coming in? Grants, donors, earned income, contracts? Know your real numbers.
Knowledge is power.
Then N, navigate your emergency donor and partner outreach. This is not the time to be quiet. Reach out to your existing donor relationships, your corporate partners, your community network.
We have to work together.
And then D, determine what's working and recalibrate. Once the immediate crisis is stabilized, assess. Find the problems, course correct, land the plane. Then we'll talk about building a better flight plan. We're going to go deeper into this, much deeper, in an upcoming episode because losing a major grant deserves its own full conversation. So make sure you subscribe so you don't miss that.
Trust me, you don't want to miss it.
And lastly, our solvency ratio is below 1 to 1. Where do you even start? Oof. You can start with honesty, and you can start today. A solvency ratio below 1 to 1 means that your debts exceed your assets. That is a serious situation. But it's not an irreversible one. As long as you act with urgency and intention. Start with the rise reset. Begin the review. Get the complete picture of every number in your organization. Then move to intentionalize. Find every opportunity to build margin into your programs and expenses. Then secure. Begin diversifying your revenue so you're never this exposed to a single point of failure again. And for the elevate phase, please don't do that part alone. This is exactly the situation where having a holistic CFO in your corner is not a luxury. It's a lifeline. So use that link below to book a call with us at the Emerald Edge. Let's look at your numbers together and build a plan that gives your mission a fighting chance.
Crash and Eddie reporting for duty.
This has been From Purpose to Profits, where we prove that doing good and doing well aren't opposites. They're partners in creating lasting change. In our next episode, we're going deep on exactly what to do when you lose a major grant. Step by step, no fluff, no theory, just the exact framework for navigating a funding crisis and coming out the other side stronger than when you went in. And trust me, you don't want to miss this one. So make sure you're subscribed. And remember, the questions you've been afraid to ask out loud are usually the ones that matter most. So ask them, answer honestly, and then do something about it. So keep leading with purpose, and I'll see you in the next episode.